Hey, it's Mike Cambright with FlipNerd.com. Welcome back for another exciting VIP interview where I interview some of the most successful real estate investing experts and entrepreneurs in our industry to help you learn and grow. Today I'm joined by Ryan Paliukaitis of Real Estate Solution Providers. He's a real estate investor that really has found his way to working with other investors across the country. And you know, a lot of real estate investors, we talked about this before, really tend to see everyone else as a competitor. But Ryan has found a way to work cooperatively with others to make the pie bigger for everyone. So today we're going to hone in on that topic, and we're going to talk about the power of co-opetition and how you could maybe work with other people in your market to each achieve more. Before we get started though, let's take a moment to recognize our featured sponsors. RealtyMogul.com is an online marketplace for real estate investing, connecting borrowers and capital from accredited and institutional investors. Get a rehab loan fast and close in as little as 10 days. Rates start as low as 9%. We'd also like to thank National Real Estate Insurance Group, the nation's leading provider of insurance to the residential real estate investor market. From individual properties to large-scale investors, National Real Estate Insurance Group is ready to serve you. Please note, the views and opinions expressed by the individuals in this program do not necessarily reflect those of FlipNerd.com or any of its partners, advertisers, or affiliates. Please consult professionals before making any investment or tax decisions, as real estate investing can be risky. Hey, Ryan, welcome to the show.
Hey, Mike, thanks for having me.
Yeah, glad you're on. So this is an important topic. This has really come up in a lot of interviews I've had. We kind of tiptoe around working together, some people that provide, solutions for other real estate investors, whether it's CRMs and other things. But I'm excited to talk today about how real estate investors can, work more closely together and hear your story about how you've done it as well.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, before we get started, though, why don't you take a couple minutes and tell us your background? I know that kind of like myself and a lot of people that we've had on, you're what we refer to as a corporate refugee. You left corporate America to pursue real estate investing, and probably like most of us have no plans to ever go back.
That's definitely true.
Yeah.
I was actually a IT major, and I was working for a company that was basically making phone calls over the internet. Pioneer of making a VoIP, pretty much. Okay. And that's what a lot of us use every day. Long story short, one of the other associates that I had gave me Rich Dad Poor Dad. So I actually listened to that audio during work. Probably shouldn't even say that now, but
yeah, they can't fire you now.
Yeah, right. And so when I first heard it, you fight some of the concepts. It goes against kind of what you're taught and whatnot. So anyway, I was intrigued by it, and then I actually came across their forums and just started researching. And about 7 months went by, and this is back in 2006, 2007. I started off door knocking. There was actually houses with equity in them, and I came across the house that I live in now. I knocked on the house, and after getting rejected for a couple weeks of door knocking on Sunday mornings, the lady says, "Come on in," and I didn't know what to do next. That just goes to show you how little bit of it
yeah.
So fast forward, I ended up, it was the first house I bought. I was planning on rehabbing it. I ended up moving into it because it was in the local area, and I could live there for pretty much living the same price of rented house. Yeah. My parents' house. So then I branched away from real estate a little bit, and then I'm coming back in 2009. I basically asked my boss's boss, who knew I was into real estate, to fire me. And I collected unemployment and a severance package for a few months, and I just dove into to short sales. I actually bought Nathan Jerwitz's short sale riches from like an eBay auction. Yeah. And it took me a full year before I actually closed my first deal, and I was kind of battling with the whole short sales as far as the regulations were constantly changing. Right. And I was in that for maybe another year, full blast. Short sales were just my primary business. And then I switched over because I said, there's got to be some other avenues here. These things are so difficult, and they're putting all these restrictions as far as when you can resell them. Went over to the regular wholesaling, and it's just a much easier route in my opinion. Not to take anything away from short sales. There's great systems in there, right, such as Brian Mara's course and stuff. But wholesaling, as far as dealing with free and clear houses to me is just a lot easier. There's not much risk. It enables me to form the relationships that you're mentioning, with other partners, especially throughout New Jersey. I could cover all of New Jersey because I have the right relationships in place.
Yeah.
In essence, it's just a blueprint. So I have that blueprint, and then I take that. I'm established in Philly. I'm established in Miami with Alex Parley out of our show.
Hey, so before we get into kind of talking about your kind of the network you've built up and stuff, talk a little bit about, so initially, other than the first house you bought that you lived in, were you generating leads, buying yourself, and then wholesaling yourself, and then decided to kind of go out to conquer new lands geographically? Is that what happened?
Oh well, I first started off just door knocking. I wasn't doing direct mail.
Right.
This was just focusing on foreclosures.
Yeah.
And I the only house that I landed when there was equity really was the house I live in.
Okay.
So I branched away. If you say 2006, 2007, I started fixing this house here a little bit with my father, and then moving into it. But I was still in corporate world, so I wasn't diving into it. So I took maybe a 3-year kind of break. I was looking at the forums a little bit, and then it just got to the point where the issues with corporate world, the glass ceilings. I had aspirations to be the top coder in the company. And I just felt that, even if so, that it just wasn't going to give me the lifestyle that I wanted to live.
Right,
I guess I always tell everyone, not everyone is meant to be an entrepreneur. I really feel it's in your blood.
Sure.
And, while you can go on vacations to Costa Rica and still run your business, you do have weekends where you work and or sometimes you bring your work with you on the vacation. So it really depends. But it's not for everybody. But I went traded for the world. So,
So when you got back into real estate investing in 2009, did you start right away kind of co-oping with other investors, or were you?
No, I bought Nathan Jurowitz's system, and I was doing these short sales. So I didn't even know how to do it. I did a post in my GS forum, and I said, hey, look, I'm looking for somebody because I had the basis there, but I wanted the confidence to maybe work with somebody. And someone reached out and said, hey, we could, we'll work it together. I won't just, kind of, basically not really spoon feed per se, but like we'll meet the homeowners together. We'll kind of go over the paperwork and stuff. So I linked up with a partner that we were networking with short sales. Did a few here and there, but again, we're talking a long time span.
Sure. And then what were you doing with those houses? Were you wholesaling them, or were you?
It was A to B, B to C closings.
Okay.
So you're just buying and selling the same day.
Yeah. And then over time, you kind of realized the opportunity to be a lead generation provider, I guess, for people in other markets. Is that right?
Right. So I mean, not just a lead provider, but I have virtual assistants that will do a lot of the legwork and basically give these other associates, partners, leads on a silver platter.
Yeah.
So I give you the example of, picture logging into a system and you're clicking the forward button like on your browser, and boom, there's another lead. Boom, there's another lead, and it has all the information that they need. So they literally can just say, okay, I know this area, let's make that offer. There's complete detailed screen leads.
Right. So talk a little bit about, I know you came from a technical background, and so talk a little bit about how you kind of saw that opportunity. A lot of people, obviously most people, what's most common is they get in and they're responsible for everything. They're one-man bands or one-woman bands trying to literally do everything, from lead generation all the way through to selling to probably doing their own bookkeeping, everything. And you kind of came at it from a different angle of saying, hey, I can systematize this and kind of add value for other people and add value for yourself in the process.
Right. Well, I can tell you how it first started. So when I branched away from the short sales and started focusing more on the wholesaling, the free and clear properties, I basically used Chris Chico's system. I used his exact mailer, postcard. I probably sent out about 1,500 of them. And I remember it was about 3 years ago or 4 years ago. I was at my summer shore house, and I'm checking my emails, and all of a sudden I see email come in, and then another one. So it's basically the notification with their voicemails attached.
Yeah.
I said, oh, this is great. So I listened to it, and I get, it's a 2-3 minute message, and I'm putting it in the Excel sheet, and also another one comes, and I see, all right, this is great. It's a good problem to have, but this is a problem. I can't even keep up. If there's 100 calls that come in and they're 2 minutes each, you have to listen to those. You have to put them in the system. Right. I said, okay, somebody needs to do this. So I did a bunch myself. I was excited, but I quickly saw there could be a problem. It's going to be a bottleneck system.
Yeah.
So I hired out a virtual assistant to screen the leads, and the problem was that there was no Podio at the time. I was not aware of it.
Yeah.
And so I first started off by using Dropbox and using Excel, and they would put the leads in there. And then I noticed, okay, I didn't want to have just one VA doing one thing. I know it's less to manage, but hey, if something happened to that person, my business shuts down. So I figured if it's kind of like McDonald's, one person does this, one person does that. Sure, it's a little more to manage, but at least if one person falls out, I can replace them, or I have other people in place that it's not going to suffer as much. So I said, okay, one person's going to have the duty of generating, of screening the calls that come in. The other one's going to go ahead and call them back and screen them further. So I quickly saw, even with the system with Dropbox, that we're putting in an Excel sheet, and then this person maybe overwrites this person. Just too much process.
Right.
So again, having a computer background, I quickly said, okay, we got to develop a system which they log online, and basically, you see all these CRMs which say assigning tasks or my task. And it's funny because I felt like I invented that because I came across, that was just part of my thing of okay, we're going to pass the baton and you now handle that task. And then when you're done, you hand it to the next person. So that mindset was pretty much developed just from going through the everyday processes and what seemed to be most effective and efficient. So anyway, we had the system very basic, that people would go ahead, they would put in the system online and then assign it to certain VAs that they would just log in and say, okay, these are my tasks for the day. I have to call this person back. I have to make this offer, etc.
Right.
And so my associates will utilize those VAs as much or as little as possible, but they also have an account. So when they log in, they say, okay, this is a perfectly screened lead. Has all the information I need. Either I can call them up and make the offer, or I could, I'm busy today, let me have the VAs go ahead and make the offer, or whatever other task it may be.
Yeah. So I'm pretty big on virtual assistants as well. We had a number of people on before talking about VAs. So where are your VAs based? I mean, there's a certain area you like?
I like most Philippines seems to have the best English for making phone calls.
Yep.
I could say if you're going to do simple data entry, I was utilizing some of the VAs even before I had the ones that were making calls. So if I had to pull data from, let's just say, Morris County, for example, and get the list pendants, I would have them, either I'd have an automated script to do it, or I'd have them go ahead and manually do it. And I found out the cheapest and best is actually from India if you're doing simple data entry.
Yeah.
But as far as making phone calls and stuff, I find that Philippines is the best.
Yep.
And also for any coding of the websites, that can vary. I know the one guy I have now doing most of my stuff, I believe he's from Romania. I know he's not from India, and he's not from Philippines.
Okay.
So it really depends on the task.
Yeah. Cool. So at what point did you kind of realize that, hey, there's more opportunity here than I can handle myself, and so maybe I start to kind of branch out and find people in different markets that I can work with?
Right. So, it's very easy when you're first starting out to see like other We Buy Houses signs, and especially if it's in your home area, you may, who's this kind of you view them as competition, and you can be territorial, but you change your way of thinking. Every time I see those signs, I look at them as potential partners. And a lot of my business is co-wholesaling. So, I mean, when you're driving around each day, and when I was, back in the day door knocking, or if I had to visit homeowners in a certain area, a lot of your time is just taken up just from being in the car. And you're saying, is that the best use of my time? And so what I thought, it was, okay, look, I want to be able to cover all of New Jersey. But there's no way I could, go ahead and drive down to Atlantic City, which is 2.5 hours away, and then go back up to Sussex, whatever. It's just impossible.
Right.
So I figured, look, let me find the boots on the ground in that area. Number one, it'll help save me time. But number two, they're going to know the area better than I will. So, for example, I have one partner in Trent. He knows the area like the back of his hand. And I was telling you before that one street neighboring another may be a totally different area.
Sure.
I wouldn't know this. So from him, with his expertise, he'll know a better offer amount to make, so that we're not wasting the homeowner's time. We're not putting in offers that are going to get accepted for houses you can't even give away.
Right.
Not only that, so it's a win-win. They're basically getting leads on a silver platter. They're not paying the money for the marketing. We're doing all that back-end work. And they're going ahead in their own backyard, and they're meeting the homeowners, they're meeting potential buyers, they're taking photos, etc. So they're doing some of the legwork on the ground because, again, it's in their backyard, and I'm doing some of the back-end work. Helps save them time and money, and likewise with me.
Yeah.
So we split it 50-50, and I have those partnerships throughout New Jersey and also other parts of the country.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about when you're trying to find other people to work with, the importance of kind of what you look for in terms of at the end of the day, I think a lot of investors are suspicious of other investors for all the reasons we've talked about. But at the end of the day, there's obviously a lot of good, honest people out there. But kind of what are you looking for when you're working for finding ways to kind of integrate and work with other investors?
Right. That's actually a big part. I mean, what I first do is I'll look for some of the bigger players or someone that's in business in that area. So if I'm looking to, to start in Denver, I'll type in the We Buy Houses and to see who's got a decent presence, who's not just doing this on the weekend, and which is nothing wrong with that by any means. But I'm looking for somebody that if I'm generating the leads, it's my reputation on the line that they're going to take care of it in a timely manner, and they are a true expert in the area.
Right. Plus, you can't make any money unless they can perform. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I when I was first going into Philly, I sent out a lot of phone emails and made some phone calls, and you could kind of get a feel for the right people. I had some people I explain exactly what the relationship is, and then they'll say, well, if I'm going to do this, then I only want to give 25%, blah, blah, the haggle. And I just said, you know what? They don't get it. I have these relationships with many other people. They understand it. They understand long term, the dealing in volume.
Yeah.
And if it just kind of has that feel to it, I'll just thank them and then I'll move on to the next. And I could say 9 times out of 10, I get the right person. One of the biggest concerns is, well, what if that person will screw you over for a deal? And I get that asked all the time when I'm co-wholesaling or people want to provide me with leads. And I say, listen, you know what? You only burn me once. You may burn me, but it won't happen again.
Right.
And who would be so foolish that if you're going to screw me for a couple $100, if you're not seeing the future as far as making
of course
thousands of dollars over a long period of time.
Yeah.
So you know what? Let's say I did a mailer for $1,500 or $2,000, and they stiffed me on a deal or something happened. Okay, our business venture ends there, and then I go on to somebody else.
Yeah.
But I can say that for 90% of the people that I've dealt with, that hasn't happened. And I could say for the small select that have maybe done some unscrupulous things, ironically enough, that has led to other relationships, and most of which are in New Jersey here. So, it is what it is. It's just part of the business.
Yeah.
I don't have a foolproof way, and especially some people have all the, let me have the NCND and all that signed or whatever. And I've had people tell me that's as good as toilet paper. And really, am I going to go ahead and take somebody to court and waste all that money?
Right.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah. So in order to kind of pull off what you've done here, you clearly have to kind of have mapped out the process of, the entire process of real estate investing from lead generation all the way through to the final sale. So maybe you could give some advice. This isn't necessarily things that you're doing, but to other ways for people to kind of work together and cooperate as a business. What are some of the logical ones that make sense?
Not sure I understand.
So if folks are listening right now and they're not going to go out and build a detailed system, a CRM that others can log into and see their leads and all that stuff. What are some easier steps for people to consider start kind of cooperating with each other and work together in their business?
Right. So they don't need a fancy system like one I had built or their CRMs out there. I mean, they really can do it through Excel. And the reason why I left, I guess, or had my system developed was because Excel just wasn't going to cut it. And you know what? Even if people only deal with a couple leads, email may be fine. But I know when I'm getting hundreds of thousands of leads coming in for that month, you're going to lose them in email, and you need a good way to track them. But if you don't have that kind of volume, you could do it through email, you could do it through Excel or whatever other application you have. And the best bet would just be to reach out to those local professionals in the area. So if someone's starting off, go ahead and scan Craigslist and stuff and find the We Buy House people. Go ahead and call the We Buy Houses on the signs that you see. Attend local RIA. I mean, pretty much the standard stuff that most people talk about. During many of your interviews and stuff.
Right.
And just reach out to them and just tell them that you're looking to generate leads and basically co-wholesale with them. And if they come across a lead, maybe they can put it out to their buyers, because obviously somebody starting out is not going to have a list of 1,000 buyers. They may have a handful or a dozen.
Right.
So and just reaching out to those other wholesalers to try to cooperate in that in that manner.
Yeah. Do you find in your experience when you start kind of working with others and kind of co-oping a little bit that is that those relationships can last? Like ultimately both sides see the value, or is it usually like a stepping stone to where somebody kind of sees what you're doing and then they start to think, well, I can just do this myself. I don't need him anymore. Or even quite frankly, I mean, do you ever see it from that perspective of, I'm giving up too much of the pie here and maybe I need to find another solution?
It's funny you say that, and no, because again, a big part of my business is not doing the running around, not the boots on the ground for those other areas that are far away.
Right.
I mean, I even have one student that was doing wholesaling deals and still is, and the reality is that I would never turn down a lead. I would never, put it this way, I have that associate in that area. I'm not about to just hop in the car if a lead comes into me and say I want to get 100% of the profit.
Right.
I mean, the reality is I am giving away 50%, but I'm also saving so much time.
Yeah.
It's the amount of volume that I could accomplish. So yeah, you would think that human nature to say, oh, I could, and you know what, to be honest with you, I think that's short-sighted thinking, but some people, maybe that's applicable, but for the most part, no. I mean, when they see that, just for example, I have associates down in South Jersey that I would do the same for them. If they came across a lead and they said, hey, Ryan, I got this lead, why don't you go ahead and visit them? It's in my backyard. I have no problem. It's easier for me to go ahead and visit them than it is for them to make the drive up here. So those relationships are both ways.
Right.
Not to say that I do that often, but if I have free time, I have no problem. I mean, I am bouncing around from rehabs and rentals here and there. If I could tie it in, that's fine. But again, some people may be like that, but for the most part, no. I mean, that's what you value mostly is our time. So,
right.
And
it sounds like everybody you're working with here is ultimately kind of ultimately wholesaling it, or because obviously rehabbing enters a whole nother complication of how you would split that, or what do you do in situations where you have a lead, you're handing it over to somebody, and they decide that they want to rehab it.
Right. Okay. So it's funny you mention that because most recently I've been diving into rehabs, and I could say for my relationship with that particular associate, we do have a 50-50, and we're also 50-50 on the rehabs as well. So I mean, because it was something a little new for us, I would drive down there and kind of we were basically going through the process together. So screening the contractors, bringing them in. But he's the boots on the ground, so he's actually there more on site than I am.
And you're making half of the investment as well. You're putting up half the capital for the purchase and rehab and everything?
It depends on the deal. I could say that's another interesting thing because for these particular deals, I brought on the private money lender. So it's really all these relationships are based on a give and take scenario. Like everyone has to bring something to the table for it to be worthwhile. I mean, if you're, let's just say, providing a lead and then you're not going to the rehab, you're not providing any of the money, and it's fair is fair. You probably don't deserve 50% of the profit on that, but. For all intents and purposes, we're each bringing something to the table, and they see that what I bring is a value, and likewise. So for the rehabs I have going on right now, it is a 50-50 split. If it was somebody that I was not partnering with, I would just be wholesaling it to them just as a regular, regular wholesale deal.
Sure. Awesome. Well, Ryan, if folks want to learn more about, obviously you have the house buying side of your business, and then you have the partnership side of your business. I mean, where do they go to learn more about what you're doing or how to reach out to you?
They can just go to my website, ryanpal.com. If
that's
they want
ryanpal.com.
Right. Yeah. And I have a forum set up for it's mostly geared towards new investors, mostly for people in New Jersey. Just because it was supposed to be a localized, centralized thing of what's going on. People hear about, hey, that we could do this type of creative transaction in this state. Well, we really want to know what's going on, what works here. And that's reiunite.com, and there's a forum on there. So if anyone that's listening is in Jersey and they're looking to get started or network with other investors, it's reiunite.com.
Reiunite, UNITE?
Correct.
Awesome. Well, hey, Ryan, thanks so much for joining today and sharing your story. I think that they're really, I think early on in my kind of real estate investing career, if you will, I was probably much more closed-minded to working with others and stuff like that, just because real estate investors get caught in this feast or famine mentality. It's very much a feast or famine business. It's not like we're selling tacos or pizzas or something to where you're selling and buying something every single day and lots of it, and your volume is either up 3 or 5% up and down. It's like it's a roller coaster, right? So I think that causes the feast or famine mentality, and a lot of people that have been successful in this business just tend to put their head down and don't work with others and do their own thing. But that's a hard business to scale, and it's not nearly as fun as if you find other people to work with. And so, yeah, I definitely think what you're doing is great.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you couldn't have said any better. I mean, the reality is that those that have that short-sighted mentality, they'll quickly phase out. I don't mean out of the business per se, but
Right.
you'll gel with those that have that long-term mentality that they're not going to try to negotiate you out of your own deals, or they're not going to go ahead and try to fight you for, hey, we understand that it's a 50-50 relationship, it's long-term, and you just focus on the deals instead of, there's no one really wants to work with somebody if they feel that they're going to try to screw them out of the money, the profit each time. So,
Right.
you may deal with a couple of those people, but if you have good work ethics, and you do attract those people, and I can say that the people that I work with, they all share that same mentality, and that's probably one of the biggest reasons of how I was able to accomplish and increase to where we're at now. So
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Ryan, thanks for joining us today. Thanks for sharing your story, and we'll add the links to how to get a hold of you down below the video here for anybody that wants to reach out to you. So thanks, my friend.
That's it. All right, thank you.
All right, stay in touch. Are you a member of FlipNerd.com, the most robust real estate investing platform in existence, where you can find off-market wholesale deals and great vendors literally in your market? You can get access to advice from experts and learn about local clubs and events right in your backyard. If not, please visit FlipNerd.com and register for a free account. You can register in less than a minute. It's pretty much the coolest site that's ever existed in the real estate investing industry, so get on over to FlipNerd.com.